Hello, viewers, and thank you so much. Once again, this is the Big Talk with me, Costa, and today we have another exciting episode. We are speaking to a renowned journalist, Dara B. Blessed Mhlanga. We know the story that he was jailed for over 70 days, accused of having transmitted messages or broadcasting messages that were deemed to be insightful, precisely to incite public violence. So we want to hear the experience, Dara, from you. We remember that you were invited by the police more than twice, and then I think it was the third time that they had to detain you and then pressed a charge against you. Would you like to just give us a background of how that story unfolded?
So basically, the war veterans, 6 of them, led by Blessed Rune Sugeza, at that time ZANU-PF Central Committee member, held a press conference which was duly covered by Heart and Soul TV and radio and transmitted on HSTV platform, YouTube. Someone deemed 2 of those press conferences to contain messages that incited violence. And in their wisdom or lack of it thereof, they decided that the person who is responsible for broadcasts at HSTV is a senior journalist in charge of presidential affairs, whose name is Blessed Mhlanga. And they decided to summon that person to the police at the most 3 times. And on the 4th time, I was arrested. On the 4th time, I presented myself to the police. When I heard that the police had come visiting and demanding that they wanted to see me, they came to our newsroom. I was in Zambia. I was supposed to stay in Zambia for at least 2 weeks, right? So when I heard that they were looking for me, I flew back from Lusaka into Zimbabwe, past the airport. And fortunately or unfortunately, no one was looking for me there. I called Assistant Police Commissioner Ponyati and told him that, you know what, I've heard that the police were looking for me, and Monday 9 I will present myself with my lawyer. On the Monday of it was on the 24th, I presented myself to the police without my lawyer, because when I tried to call my lawyer, Chris Mike, his phone was not reachable. But because I'm a man of my word, I had told them that I'm going to be there. I arrived at the police station at 8:30. My lawyer arrived around 10. After I had sat down with them, had conversations with them. Right? Their chief issue was they wanted to know who was responsible for broadcasting. And I couldn't answer that question because they had arrested me as Blessed Mhlanga, not as a representative of HSTV. So okay. I can't discuss, I have no authority to discuss policy issues of HSTV unless a board meeting sits down and mandates me to represent HSTV. At that particular time, and even at this material time, there's no such board meeting authorizing me to be a spokesperson of the organization. I am an employee of HSTV. So I was then detained, charged, taken to court, and I had prepared for this. I knew, because, this is not the first time such things have happened.
Let's go a little bit back. I remember there was an incident here when the police was still looking for you, that there were some men who stormed the newsroom. What exactly happened?
So at that particular time I was in Chinhoyi. I'd come to the office, then left and went to Chinhoyi for work. Then I was called that there were 3 men who had come in armed with guns, and they were looking for me. And it was bizarre because the first time they called me on my phone, and I went there. They could have simply called me again. But they decided to come here with a show of force and gun. Fortunately, they found me out of the office, right? Because perhaps my thinking is that they wanted to show in court that I'm not a good candidate for bail because I can escape, I can run away because they came looking for me.
That they had to carry guns to come and fetch you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And it was shocking, but we have heard these stories.
But with these people confirmed to be police officers.
Yes. I mean, we know them. We know they are police officers. They were confirmed, and I mean, we're journalists. When we work, we see police officers. Even when I go to report, I report. By the way, every Friday I go to report to the police, law and order. I see them, right? Because when they were here, we're journalists. Pictures were taken. We have CCTV footage, cameras in this place, because this is a newsroom. This is a security area because we broadcast here. We don't want people coming in here to broadcast, unlawfully. So we need to keep track. So when they walked in, we have CCTV footage and stuff like that. Yeah, we just didn't release it because it wasn't necessary for us to do that. But yeah.
But beyond just maybe creating a scenario as you understood it, what could have been a reason? Maybe perhaps they came here with guns because they wanted to portray as if you are not a good candidate for bail. But what could have been another reason beyond that assumption?
Maybe they walk around with guns.
Or they view you naturally as a criminal?
No, maybe because they are police officers, probably they just walk around with guns. I think.
Yeah. Okay. No, that was.
I mean, applying a reasonable mind. Police. Normally, if you go to South Africa, you find police officers walking around with pistols and stuff like that, right? So naturally, since they are law enforcement agents, probably it's one of their tools of trade, right? Like a journalist will walk around with a pen or a dictaphone or something like that. It shouldn't shock you that they do that.
How long were you detained at the Harare Central Police Station?
So I went there on the 24th. And I went to court on the 25th.
The following day?
Yes.
So how was the experience? How was the night there at Harare Central?
Look, the cells at Harare Central are terrible. They smell. The blankets are infested with bed bugs.
Kids?
Yes. The toilets, wow. But what struck me the most is the fact that most of the people who are detained there go without food because the police cannot or is not providing food to people that it detains. So if your family members don't bring you food in Harare Remand prison, you will in Harare Central, Central Police Station, you will die of hunger.
How did you manage that night?
Well, I was jovial. I laughed with the police officers. My lawyers came. They spoke to me. I made the best of it. I made the best of it. Yeah, I made friends. We spoke. And a lot of people appreciated us, appreciate the work that HSTV does. And I think the reason why I was really arrested is because I also look like the face of HSTV. Because when people see me, some people think I actually own HSTV. Some people think I'm actually HSTV when I'm not.
Yeah.
Yes. Because HSTV has decided in its wisdom, maybe or lack of it, to put me in front as the face of and I'm privileged to get that backing from my employer.
And what was the reaction from your family the night after your detention when they met you at court?
Oh, they just thought, it's one of those things. But I had prepared them. I had actually prepared them.
That you should expect the worst.
Yes, I'd actually prepared them. I spoke to my daughter, and I told her that I'm going to go to the police. She might prepare for the worst. And at that time I was in Lusaka when I was talking to her, and she said to me, "Dad, why don't you just run away? Why don't you just go even to the UK or something? You've got a valid visa. You can just fly there." And I said, "No, but I can't go. My family, you are here. I have responsibilities. I have a job that I love. I can't go to the UK." And said, "But we can talk to you while in the UK. We can't talk to you when you're in prison, And I said, "No, I'm going." And then she was like, "Okay, so what's the worst that they can do to you if you go?" I said, "The offense that they're charging me with, I can be in prison for up to 5 years." And like, 5 years, Dad? Like, yeah, I won't die. So we had this conversation, we had this
family,
conversation, yeah. And they were prepared, but it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. It was not even easy for me, But I remember my wife saying that every time she saw me and I was smiling, I was talking to people and stuff, she felt better.
You felt bad. Okay, let's move to your stay in prison for over 70 days. Of course, we know the court stories, you being denied bail by the magistrate court and also by the High Court. How was your stay?
It was, apart from the horrible conditions in Harare Remand prison. And apart from the fact that my bail was denied, my dignity was denied to me, my right to access to education was denied to me when I was denied an opportunity to go and write exams twice, by the state. Apart from that, my stay at Harare Remand prison was beautiful. I enjoyed it.
Let's explore this, your education status with the University of Zimbabwe, right?
Yes.
So what is it like now after missing those examinations?
I'm still a registered student of the University of Zimbabwe. I haven't had an opportunity to sit down with my chairman of the faculty or the dean, because lecturers at the moment at the University of Zimbabwe, as you are aware, are on strike, right? But I think, if anything, the worst is that that I will delay. It will delay my progression, right? Because I only missed 2 modules. I still have 2 more that I can write this semester. So the worst case is it could delay. The better case is that the faculty can allow me to write supplementary exams, because it's still within the same semester, right? Because the difference now is that the University of Zimbabwe now does what they call modular learning. So after every 3 weeks you write an exam, you do a module, you write an exam, you do a module, you write exam within the same semester. So I'm praying that I could be given that opportunity. But if I don't, there are people who have written these exams in the past and they failed. Right, and they carry them to the next semester, and they write.
Even the next year.
Even next year, yeah. So I can basically do that. I can just count myself as if I had failed, and I'll write. Yeah.
Confirm you, this is just the first year, right?
Yes, first year part 2.
First year part 2.
Yes.
And how prophetic it is that you've enrolled for law, and you immediately then get into this experience of being like rightly facing how the law can be used to violate your rights.
So the very, I mean, the most amazing thing, my brother, is that it's not just prophetic, but the coincidence was just too much. I was put in a criminal justice system. At the time, I was studying criminal law and criminology. Right? At the time, where the core essence of my study centered on the Criminal Codification Act. Right? I had an opportunity to do a practical. Right, to do a practical, a real practical, because I sat there. My lecturer, Dr. I then met him when I got out. But I sat there, getting notes from colleagues at the university, especially Raymond. Raymond is the president of the law faculty at the University of Zimbabwe, and we are in the same stream. So he provided me with notes, also provided me with reading material. And as I sat in there and I read, as I sat in there, prosecutors arguing for my stay in Remand prison and my lawyers defending, right? And I was reading the law on these particular issues, right? And I was looking at the defenses available, because this is what you do when you study criminal law and criminology. You look at the defenses available. You look at the essential elements that are supposed to be proved so that the conviction can be secured. And you also look at how, as a defense, you understand those essential elements and see how they must not be proved so that your client is released from prison. And when all these things were happening, I was relating to them in the actual study, to the extent that my second bail application on changed circumstances, most of it was written by me and augmenting my lawyer. Specifically, I argued a constitutional case to my lawyer, and I said, look, all the time we go to court, we are arguing Section 50 of the Constitution, Section 50 of the Constitution, that everyone has a right to bail upon arrest, right? That right is automatic. You have a right to bail. The moment that you appear in court, you have a right to bail. That right to bail can only be taken away if the state proves that there are essential elements. I mean, there are compelling reasons to deny you bail. Right. But this is not what's happening in our criminal justice system. Our criminal justice system wants an accused person to apply for bail. You don't have to apply for bail. It is the state that has to apply to deny you bail, because the Constitution says you have a right to bail. It's given to the Constitution, right? This is now constitutional law that I'm talking to you about, which is also another module that I was doing at that particular time. But again, there is a section 50, subsection 6 of the Constitution. It says, if you are not brought to trial within a reasonable time whilst you're in detention, you must be released. This is what it says. You must be released. Right?
Does it specify the period?
It says within a reasonable time. Now, applying the reasonable time, the court now must pronounce itself on what is deemed a reasonable time. Okay. Yeah. But in applying my mind clearly, in applying my mind to the law and using certain elements of the law that I've studied, interpretation of statutes, a reasonable time must be time that does not equate to you serving a prison sentence before you are actually convicted. So there's prison sentences that are 2 months long in this country. There's prison sentences that are 5 months. If you are going to be staying in prison, particularly for a matter where there's an option of a fine, for a period of 3 months before you are brought to trial, surely that is not a reasonable time. reasonable time must be such that you are not being punished for a crime that you have not yet been convicted for. And in also looking at the matter that is before, the police, in adducing evidence to have me denied bail, they had reasons that they put before the court. And one of the reasons was that I can interfere with state witnesses. And they said the state witnesses, there were 10 of them, all at HSTV, right? How much time do you need to interview people, 10, who are, in the same place? You're not hunting for them. They're not on the run, right? And the crime is of transmitting a video, right? And the video is there. It has not been removed. It's there, the video that they allege. It's there on the YouTube channel of HSTV, right? It's there. How on earth do you need 3 months to investigate that before you bring someone to trial? So to me, that was not reasonable time.
So you felt that you were just being punished?
I didn't feel that I was being punished. I was punished.
Okay.
I spent 3 months, almost 3 months, 73 days in prison without a conviction. That is punishment.
Without a trial?
Without conviction.
Okay, let's look at you wrote some letters that were often being, of course, given to the press and to the public and so forth. And we still want to look at what inspired you to pursue law and your language. That I think it captured a lot of the essence of the violations of your rights and how you talked about you being a very resilient and determined in that journalism is not a crime in this country. So we would want you to maybe shed light on what was really inspiring you to come up with all that messaging in your letters.
Life. Simple answer to your question is life inspired me. Look, I joined journalism to tell a story. To tell stories that touch people, that talk to people. It's in my blood. Unscripted. Without AI. Those words came from me. Right? And I communicated them to my lawyers. Right? When you experience life, you want to share that experience with others so that it speaks to people. And a man who winks in the dark will never get the girl. Because the girl can't see that you're winking at her. So I was inspired to tell the story, my brother, because someone needs to know. Someone needs to know. They need to understand the conditions in that place, how it hurts being there. If someone wants to commit crime, he must stop committing crime. But also, I wanted the young journalist who's studying at Harare Polytechnic, one of the finest journalists come from Harare Polytechnic, who come from Great Zimbabwe University, from the UZ, from the Midlands State University. Those are spaces, and COSA, those are spaces that most of us here or personally I've had relations with in terms of training in their intent. I wanted them to understand that you can break bonds but not the spirit. You can break bonds but not the spirit. If you are born to do something, you will do it. And even if I am imprisoned, Costa, someone else will come and sit in this chair and do the work that we do. You were there. You still did what you were supposed to do. You know? So arresting people and putting them in jail is not a way of sending a message.
Yeah. What was really coming out from your letters was that the passion you were so passionate about, you being a journalist.
So some people think I'm too emotional. You know, when I do interviews, people say this guy is just too emotional. I'm passionate about what I do. You know, I sit there and feel my blood running when I do the work that I do. You understand, Costa? I love this. I absolutely love this. I totally love what I do. If you take that away from me, you have taken the essence of who I am. I can't imagine myself doing anything. So I decided to do law because law and journalism are just basically, almost in my view, one and the same thing. We spend years and years of our journalism studying law without knowing it, right? Because if you're going to ask a journalist to write about a human rights story, they have to understand the Constitution.
Exactly.
They have to understand sections of the law to be able to come up with a story that makes sense. Right? We studied this, but we just don't have certificates for it. Yeah.
So what kind of data are we going to see? Data in journalism or data in law in the near future?
I think you have to find out.
Okay.
Because I also don't even know. Experiences shape people.
Okay.
And as you move forward, the experiences, this is why I used to ask myself why companies always say we want people with 5 years experience, we want people with experience in certain positions, right? Because that experience shapes you and it makes you the person that you're supposed to be. So my view is that the data be
we are going to see.
You also have to discover. But there's one thing that I'm sure I will not change: my passion for what I do. My father used to tell me that you must be the best at what you do. It doesn't matter whether you are the window cleaner or a toilet cleaner. If you're a toilet cleaner, the day you're not at work, the bosses must notice that these toilets have not been cleaned properly. You must be the best at what you do so that people seek you out. It doesn't matter how small or how big the thing you do is. So this is what I seek to do.
But how has been law so far? How has been studying law so far? You are into part 2 of the first year. How has been law?
I mean, brilliant. I've had brilliant lecturers. You know, I'm saddened that our lecturers are not teaching at the moment. But I've had brilliant, passionate lawyers. One of the best lecturers that I've met. You know, I've met Professor Love Duku outside as a political player, and I've had interviews with him. But that guy is brilliant. Maduku is brilliant. Maduku knows the introduction to law, the whole book that he wrote. He knows it word for word by head. I mean that's crazy. I've met Makuya now, you know. Amazing guy. My lecturer who was teaching me criminology, unfortunately, I was not able to attend any of his lectures, but I've read some of the books that he has written on constitutionalism. Dr. Tsozo is amazing. He's amazing. So, and when you read the law, and it gets into you, you feel excited. You feel excited. When you refer to case law and the concept that you are being taught is actually, like, for example, when I was in prison and people would come to me and say, I've been accused of A, B, C, D and stuff. And then, I would know the defense and stuff like that. It's just exciting. It's exciting, especially when you're making an impact other people's lives.
I know we'll get to a stage where you can comprehensively tell us about your prison experience, but maybe I just want to find out something. Did you have access? Did you happen to access maybe reading material while at least you were in prison?
So I had all my textbooks in law. Those were allowed. And the funny thing is, colleagues from AMH used to bring me the Newsday, used to bring me the Zimind and the Standard. And at some point, I eventually asked them to stop bringing. Why? Because they bring you a newspaper, right? it goes through security. They censor that paper. They cut out stories. Huh?
What do you mean?
So they will take a scissors and read the story and say, no, this story is anti-government. They cut it off. Okay? They say, no, this advert, because the Newsday used to run a picture, my picture, every single day, counting the number of days. Right? They used to cut it out as well. Okay? They used to take it and cut it out. So eventually, when the paper came to me, Costa, yeah, and you couldn't actually read anything because
Really?
yes, because when they cut the other story from the back, right, the story in front is also cut out.
Yeah, exactly.
So at the end of the day, you have only 2 or 3 stories that you can actually
that you can read
yeah.
fully.
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, the worst thing is that they would cut out the masthead of the Newsday. I have no idea why, but they allowed the Herald to get in unmolested.
Oh, you're also accessing the Herald yourself, or you just saw other people?
The other prisoners would get the Herald, right?
Okay.
Untouched, uncut.
Are they buying these newspapers or just given?
No, your family has to buy for you.
Okay.
Yeah, your family has to buy for you. If they don't buy for you, you won't get it.
So you precisely had to ask your colleagues to stop bringing the newspapers because it was not making any sense.
It was not making any sense to me, but I think it was making sense to the prisoner, to the security guard, because for them to cut the story, they would have to read it first, is it?
Yeah.
So they would read the whole Newsday. Yes, they'd read the whole Newsday, then decide after reading that no, this story is anti-government, or I don't know, this story, any story that was written by the Newsday about me, about the court processes, they used to cut it off.
But if they were cutting that, what would you appreciate is their appreciation of the essence of journalism in this country? If they would then have the courage to remove some stories and pictures and so forth, what would you appreciate is their comprehension of the essence of journalism?
No, they're at work. They're working. Most of those guys do that out of lack of choice. They're actually very angry, some of them. You look at the shoes that they wear, you look at the salaries that they earn, you look at the resources that they are actually given to do the work that they're doing. It's sad. It's actually very, very sad. But then you look at their bosses, director generals and stuff like that. They drive expensive vehicles.
There's a huge disparity.
There's a massive, massive disparity. They drive big, huge cars. They stay in good houses. Some of them that belong to government, right? Some of them were given loans up to 300 or so thousand to buy themselves houses, right? But the guy who keeps the prisoners at Remand prison, the Sekuru, the guy who's got that green uniform, who takes care of prisoners every single day, that guy gets nothing. He gets absolutely nothing. He survives on prisoners.
With these your observations, or you also happened to have conversations with these people, with these prison guards?
You don't need to have conversations with them. But yeah, I did have conversations with them. But you don't need to have conversations with them.
You can see for
You
yourself.
can see because the prison bosses visit prison. You will see them parking their cars. You see them getting up. You see the type of phones that they hold. Then you see the type of phones that your general prison guards have. We stay with them in our communities. They are human beings like us. They are poorly paid like us. I'm a journalist. I can tell you certainly that I'm poorly paid. The consolation that I have is I enjoy absolutely what I do. I enjoy absolutely what I do.
Let's take this opportunity maybe for you to address something which was coming out on social media and so forth, that the owner of the image, Mr. Trevor Ngobe, and AMH in general, they neglected you they sort of forgot you. They were leaving you languishing in prison. They were cheering you, doing these shows and giving the war veterans space to speak out. But now the trouble is now on your own. They have neglected you.
Did you see me as a neglected person, Costa?
No, take this opportunity.
I'm responding.
Yeah.
I'm responding.
Did
you not see Trevor Ncube come to court and sit there?
Yeah, I saw it.
Did you not see my CEO, Kenyas, come to court and sit there? Did you not see Tendai, our legal officer, being there every single day? Didn't you see them? Didn't you see them? I'm telling you, my colleagues were bringing newspapers to prison. Whether they were bringing them, I asked them to stop. Didn't you see Trevor posting that he was in Harare Remand prison visiting me? Didn't you see that? Is that neglect? Is that a sign of neglect? Costa, not a single day did I feel neglected. I was loved, Trevor. Not only Costa, sorry. I was loved, not only by Trevor, not only by my colleagues. Kolwani Nyati, my editor-in-chief, would leave his office, his deadlines, and come to prison and sit there and talk to me. The CEO would come, right? My family received support from different facets, from people that I've never met, from people that I know. You know, some of them didn't shout that they were helping because of obvious reasons. Yeah. But there was a massive swell of support. Some people, when my wife's phone number was posted on Twitter by Hopol, when he said those who want to donate Echo Cash, you can donate. Some people donate as much as $1. Some would donate 50 cents and send a text that, you know what, I walk home every day. I don't have money, but I'm giving Blessed 50 cents. If you can find something that you can buy for 50 cents, I had massive support.
Yeah.
It changed my life. I had massive support. I was never neglected. Let people not lie. I was loved. The reason why I will continue doing the work that I do is people love me. People love the work I do. I'll not leave.
And how was your family? I mean, how was the welfare issue? How did they go about it with your absence?
I've just addressed that. The only thing that they missed was me. My wife used to say, I think we have more food than you've ever bought when you were out.
Yeah.
But I just can't eat because you're not there. You know? Yeah. I used to tell my wife, just take the kids wherever they want to go. Okay? Go with them. Just make sure they don't miss me that much. But they did miss me.
Yeah.
Because there are certain things that my wife can't do. You know? Yeah. The way I play with my kids, the way I'm there for them.
Yeah.
And also because she had to juggle work, coming to see me, attending court. The kids also suffered attention.
Yes. Yeah, I want you to then maybe conclude by giving a word of advice to fellow journalists, given the experience that you went through. But maybe before that, you can briefly tell us the horribleness of the Harare Remand prison, like we said in our preamble.
Why are you being emotional?
No. I'm not being emotional. I want you to
calm down.
I want you to get this opportunity and maybe just share with us the horrible side part of it.
So because I sit on two different boards now, the journalism and law as a law
As a
student.
law student, yes.
So I'll talk to the journalists and I'll talk to law students. And what I can tell you, Costa, is that you don't own the platforms that you work for. It's not about you. So when things happen to you, they're not happening to you. They're happening to everyone that has ever followed your work and supported it.
Yes.
I know there was a time when you went for a prayer, right? You saw the swell of love that people had for you. Sometimes you don't understand the impact of the work that you do until certain instances like that happen.
Exactly. Very correct. Yeah.
So when you take a bribe, when you fudge facts, when you fail to tell people who trust in you, when you fail to tell them the story that they are supposed to hear so that they make meaningful decisions in their life, you failed. Not you as a journalist, you failed the nation.
Failed the profession, even.
I don't care about the profession. You failed the nation. I care about the people. I care about the people. So if you care about the people, you make the profession noble. You make it noble. Right? So don't be scared to do your work. Because at the end, the center of defense for journalism is it was factual and people deserved to hear it. Right? All the years of training boils down to one thing: how you save this nation, how you save the people. That's what it boils. For me, might mean other things to other people, but for me, right? How do you sit down, Costa, and say you are discontinuing the show that you're doing with me right now? When every other week there are people who are standing in queue waiting to hear from you so that they can make decisions that push this nation forward. Because you've been arrested, because you've been threatened, because you've been given a brown envelope. We can't do that. We can't afford that. Right? I turn to law students and lawyers in general. People who are in remand prison, people who go to prison, they depend on the services of lawyers to get justice.
Yeah.
Sometimes some lawyers neglect their duty, which is unprofessional and unethical, or they don't do it to the best of their ability. And at the end of the day, it costs someone's freedom. It costs a whole family, a breadwinner, a father, a sister, a mother. If you get into that profession, get in it for the right reasons. Be a lawyer to plead the law. Be a lawyer who will make sure that if they get a client, they serve them to the best of their ability. Because remand prison is not a place for people to stay. We must uphold the ethics of the legal profession to the best of our ability and serve the clients after being paid for those services the best of our ability. But sometimes, even without being paid, we must be able to just plead the law. You know?
Just for clarity purposes, this is not in reference to your lawyers, right?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. My lawyers were brilliant, but I met people who
were neglected.
Someone says I paid a lawyer. That lawyer didn't even come. Right? Someone pays a lawyer. You know, the lawyer just comes to court without even having a conference with their client to understand the matter. They just take the papers and then they think that they can start pleading someone's case without hearing from them, without sharing the defense, the strategy with your client. Right? As a result, when the case goes south, the client believes that you didn't do the best that you ought to have done. And particularly given the aspect that lawyers take instructions from their clients. How then do you represent someone that you have never sat down with or spoken to? Where did you get the instructions? You were not even there when the alleged offense happened, right? So you need to understand some of these things. My lawyers would come, brilliant lawyers. Most of the letters that they read, some of them I'd dictate them down, or they would write them. They would write down, and stuff like that. They were amazing. I think my lawyer, Chris Mike, would come to prison 3-4 times a week. Okay? Yeah. Normally you'd come around 2:30 to close to 3 because visit ended at 3, right? But he would come. He would come and sit down with me. Like I said, the second bail application on changed circumstances, I wrote some of it. My constitutional application to the Concord to challenge the legality of Section 164 of the Criminal Codification Act. I actually sit down with notes from Joe Felto, with notes from Professor Love Momadugu. I sit down and saw that there's this gap that is there in this law constitutionally. And I said to my lawyer, I think we should do this. I've these case laws. I've this there are these arguments from Professor Maduku's notes. I have this from Joe Felto, And he said, can you just put it down, right? And then we take it from there. I drafted it. I wrote it down. I gave it to him, right? And then he prepared it, and went to Advocate Tabani Mpofu, right? He also felt it was a brilliant piece. We filed it, right? So my lawyers were brilliant. But my advice is for things that I've experienced in other areas. I know Professor Maduku is also representing Moses Mpofu and Mike Shimombe. I mean, he's a whole professor, But that guy comes to prison to visit his clients, sit down with them, show them papers, say, this is what I'm going to argue, this is what I want to say in court and stuff. And even though they don't probably understand or appreciate the aspects of law, but when they go into court and sit there, they know exactly what their lawyer's game plan is. And if they have any reservations, they are able to challenge it before the judge.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
So that's yeah. So when you're a lawyer, you need to be able to take time to do that. It's important. I experienced it. Yeah.
I want to hear something.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a very brilliant experience that you are sharing right now. You want to understand that you have some junior journalists here at HSTV and even outside HSTV who are looking up to people like you. What are they saying to you after this experience?
I think you can only look at the work HSTV was doing when I was in prison. That I'm no longer the one who does things here. I actually stopped doing a whole lot of things except interviews a long time ago because I'm proud to have trained a young crop of journalists who are committed and strong. Right? I've had young journalists talk to me who are inspired. Right? They think I'm brave. I'm not brave. I have no choice. If you're in prison, you have to survive. You can't die. Yeah. If you have a job, you have to do it. You can't run away. I'm not brave. I just don't have a choice. I have to do the work that I do. So I'm proud. I'm really happy. But also the young journalists who work with me here are extremely confident. Right? Yeah. because they know I have their back. They know that, Yeah, because I could have, when I went to the police, I could have said, "Hey guys, I'm not the one who transmitted."
It was HSTV.
It was actually this person who did it. Yeah, I could have done it. I could have said that, right? Basically, because look, transmitting at my level, why would I transmit? Why would I be the one who sits down on a computer and says send? I would have failed. Costa, it's like when bread is baked at Proton. Do you expect the CEO to drive the truck to go and deliver the bread in Guero? It doesn't make sense. You understand?
Yeah.
Transmission is just the delivery, right? The work that is there is to refine ideas. That's my work, to refine ideas, right? In the background. To say, someone says, I'm going to cover a press conference, right? And I'm like, okay, so what are the questions that you're going to ask? What is the issues that the press conference is going to discuss? Okay, I think if you ask this question and you ask this question, it could be useful for you, right? Then the guys go and cover press conferences. They broadcast, But as they do that, they are acting under express instructions from HSTV. Right? They are doing so with the mandate of HSTV. Right? Like it takes with the internet that we have here, it takes about 2 hours to upload something on YouTube. You think I'd have 2 hours to sit uploading something
for it?
I mean, honestly speaking.
Yeah. No, I hear you. But okay, what are, when you're going into these social spaces after your release in prison, what are other journalists outside HSTV saying? What kind of conversation are they having with you?
I think I need to give them a warning. Please stop buying me beer. My comrades, buy me shoes or something.
Okay.
No, it's been amazing,
Okay.
I was invited to give a small lecture at the World Press Freedom Day celebrations by the Harare chapter, MISA, right? Yesterday, I'm not sure when you're going to air it, but on Tuesday there was a press conference, ZANU-PF. I went there, all the journalists across the board. What is polarized in the media industry is the newspapers, is the products themselves. But us as journalists, we are friends, we are family. We talk to each other. Doesn't matter whether you're from ZBC, doesn't matter whether you're from the Herald. If something happens to you, we feel for you. And comrades feel for me, right? And every time I walk into some space, Dara took 10 6 pekring, and you know that this is coming from a space of love, because journalists don't have lots of money. So if someone wants to spend $10 on you to buy a 6-pack, it means they actually really mean it. And I appreciate Costa. I totally appreciate. Yeah.
Are there no others who are now saying, no, we can't now, so to say, touch the untouchable stories of people because we might risk ourselves and going through the same experience?
If they are there, I'm not going to share, because I don't want to scare. I don't want to scare those who are not doing that.
Okay.
Sometimes let those whispers remain whispers, Costa, because if we give those things credence, we affect the young journalist. And for long we've been fighting to ensure that this media space is not only occupied by men. We also want young women to see a future in journalism. It's not our business to scare them, because there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yes, and your parting shots to our viewers who have been watching this show.
Look, I just want to thank you so much for the love that you have shown us as a profession and me as an individual in particular. I thank you for everything that you've done. But my at the depth or the crux of my heart of heart. The assurance is that I will not change for the worst. If I change, it has to be for the better. I cannot let you down. My God can't allow me to. The love and passion that you showed me and my family can't allow me to. We're in this together. We will tell the story. We'll keep the cameras rolling. And we'll make sure that in whatever we do, we put you first. This is your country too. This is my country too. And to those in government, you are bestowed with the power of the Constitution to protect all your citizens, including me. I am your citizen. I respect the power and authority that you hold, the mandate that you're given by people who elected you in the 2023 general elections. It is not my business. It is absolutely not my business to argue whether the election was legitimate or not. It's not my business. My business is to accept the results as they have been announced in line with the law, to respect those in power, and to give them their rightful and due respect. It is also my duty as a journalist to question the decisions of those in power if they run contrary to constitutional and legal norms, and also if they are against the will of the people. Because you draw your power from the sovereign people of this country. It is them that you save. It is them that I save. Those are both our masters. Let's respect them. Thank you very much, Costa, for having me.
Thank you, Dara. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you are following us from. This was the Big Talk with Dara B, sharing with you all the experiences that he went through during his time in detention at Remand prison. Until next time, I'm signing out.